Welcome to a place where purpose is awakened, where truth is spoken with clarity, and where lives are transformed from the inside out. This is not just a channel. It is a movement of growth, a space for those who are tired of confusion, tired of settling, and ready to rise into the fullness of who they were created to be. Here we dive deep into faith, identity, discipline, purpose, and spiritual growth. Every message is designed to challenge your thinking, strengthen your spirit, and awaken something powerful within you. This is for those who know deep inside that they are meant for more clarity, more strength, more purpose, more alignment with truth. And today, I want to speak directly to every woman listening, not just to your ears, but to your heart. There are moments in life when you look around and begin to question your worth. Moments when you feel overlooked, underestimated, or even forgotten. Underestimated or even forgotten. Moments when you start to believe the lies that say you are not enough, not strong enough, not valuable enough. But deep inside there is a voice, the quiet, persistent voice, reminding you that there is more to you than what you have been settling for. This message is for that part of you. This is not about becoming what the world calls valuable. This is about rediscovering the value that has always been within you. The kind of value that cannot be measured by opinions, appearances, or external success. The kind of value that is rooted in purpose, built on truth, and strengthened through discipline. Because the truth is, you don't become a high-value woman by chasing attention. You become one by developing character. You don't become one by seeking validation. You become one by understanding your identity. And you don't become one by understanding your identity. And you don't become one overnight. You become one through daily decisions, quiet sacrifices, and unwavering commitment to growth. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself, if you're ready to stop settling for less than you deserve, if you're ready to step into a life of clarity, strength, and purpose, then stay with me. Then stay with me. Because what you're about to hear is not just motivation. It is a call to rise. It is a call to rise. There is a cry rising quietly in the hearts of many women today, a deep and unspoken longing to understand their worth beyond the noise of the world, beyond the comparison, beyond the shallow definitions that society tries to impose. It is not a cry for attention, but a cry for identity. Because when a woman does not know who she is, she will spend her life trying to become what others expect her to be. But when a woman discovers her true value, she becomes unshakable, unmovable, and deeply rooted in purpose. You were not created to chase value. You were created from it. The moment you begin to understand this, everything about your life begins to shift. Your standards change, your thinking changes. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you allow others to treat you, it all transforms. Because value is not something you earn. It is something you recognize. It is something you recognize. In Proverbs 31:25, it says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come." Notice that it does not say she is clothed with approval or validation from others. It says strength and dignity. These are internal garments. These are things that no one can give you and no one can take away from you. A high-value woman understands that her worth is not in her appearance, not in her relationship status, not in her identity as a creation designed with intention and purpose. The world will try to tell you that your value is in how many people admire you, how many follow you, how many desire you. But that is a dangerous illusion, because if your value is built on attention, it will crumble the moment the attention fades. True value is built in private, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you are developing your character, strengthening your spirit, and aligning your life with truth. A high-value woman is not loud, but she is powerful. She does not need to prove herself because her life speaks for her. She is not desperate for acceptance because she has already accepted who she is. She has already accepted who she is. And this is where many lose their way. They seek externally what must first be established internally. In Romans 12:2 it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation begins in the mind. If you think low of yourself, you will live beneath your potential. If you believe you are not enough, you will tolerate things that are beneath you. If you believe you are not enough, you will tolerate things that are beneath you. But when your mind is renewed, you begin to see yourself differently. And that changes everything. A high-value woman guards her mind carefully. Woman guards her mind carefully. She is selective about what she listens to, what she watches, and what she allows to influence her thinking, because she understands that her thoughts shape her reality. She does not entertain negativity, gossip, or comparison. Instead, she fills her mind with truth, with wisdom, with things that build her up rather than tear her down. In Philippians 4:8 it says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is noble, think about such things. This is not just advice, it is a strategy for living a life of value. Because what you think about consistently, you become. But becoming a high-value woman is not just about mindset. It is also about discipline. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are called to be. Discipline is the bridge between who you are called to be. It is easy to desire a better life, but it requires discipline to create one. A high-value woman is consistent. She does not rely on feelings to guide her actions, because she understands that feelings are temporary, but principles are permanent. She wakes up with intention. She invests in her growth. She manages her time wisely. She understands that time is one of the most valuable resources she has, and she refuses to waste it on things that do not align with her purpose. She is not perfect, but she is committed to progress. In Proverbs 4:23 it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. A high-value woman protects her heart not because she is cold or distant, but because she is cold or distant, but because she understands the power of what she carries. She does not give her energy, her emotions, or her time to just anyone. She is intentional about her relationships. She chooses wisely who she allows into her life because she knows that the wrong people can drain her, distract her, and derail her. This does not mean she isolates herself and derail her. This does not mean she isolates herself. It means she values herself enough to set boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are standards that define what is acceptable and what is not. Walls to keep people out. They are standards that define what is not. A high-value woman does not apologize for having standards. She understands that standards are a reflection of self-respect. And let me tell you something that many do not want to hear. Becoming a high-value woman requires letting go of certain things. You cannot step into a higher level while holding on to habits, mindsets, and relationships that belong to a lower level. Growth requires separation. It requires the courage to walk away from what is familiar, even when it is uncomfortable. In Ecclesiastes 3:1 it says, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under heaven. There are seasons in your life that must come to an end so that new ones can begin. A high-value woman recognizes when a season is over, and she has the strength to move forward, even when it is difficult. She is not defined by her past. She is not defined by her past. She learns from it, but she does not live in it. She understands that mistakes are not her identity. They are lessons that refine her identity. They are lessons that refine her. She does not carry shame because she knows that shame will keep her stuck, but truth will set her free. A high-value woman also understands the importance of her words. She speaks life, not death. She does not tear others down to feel better about herself. She uplifts, she encourages, she builds, because she understands that her words have power. Because she understands that her words have power. Proverbs 18:21 says, the tongue has the power of life and death. Every word you speak is planting something, either life or destruction. A high-value woman is careful with her words. not only towards others, but also towards herself. She does not speak negatively about herself. She does not call herself worthless or incapable or unlovable. She speaks truth over her life, even when she does not feel it. And there will be moments when you do not feel strong. There will be days when you feel tired, when you feel overlooked, when you feel like you are not making progress. But a high-value woman does not quit in those moments. She keeps going. She keeps believing. She keeps showing up, even when it is hard, because she understands that her value is not based on how she feels in a moment, but on who she is consistently becoming. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are. It is not arrogance. It is not pride. It is a deep sense of peace. You no longer feel the need to compete. You no longer feel the need to compete. You no longer feel threatened by others. You can celebrate others without comparing yourself to them because you understand that your journey is unique. Galatians 6:4 says, each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Comparison is the enemy of contentment. It will make you feel like you are never enough. But when you focus on your own growth, your own purpose, your own calling, you begin to experience a different kind of fulfillment. A high-value woman is not easily distracted. She has vision. She knows where she is going, and she does not allow temporary pleasures to pull her away from long-term purpose. She is patient. She understands that greatness is not built overnight. It is built day by day, choice by choice, decision by decision. In James 1:4 it says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Maturity is a key characteristic of a high-value woman. She does not react impulsively. Of high-value woman, she does not react impulsively. And then she does not allow her emotions to control her actions. She responds with wisdom. She thinks before she speaks. She considers the consequences of her choices. And yes, there will be times when she falls short. There will be moments when she makes mistakes. But she does not stay down. She rises again. She learns, she grows. She becomes stronger because at the core of it all, becoming a high-value woman is not about perfection. It is about alignment. It is not about perfection. It is about alignment. It is about aligning your life with truth, with purpose, with the principles that lead to a life of meaning and impact. You are not here by accident. Your life has purpose. Your presence has value. And the moment you begin to see yourself the way you were designed to be, you will stop settling for less. You will stop shrinking yourself to weigh. You will stop shrinking yourself. Fit into places that were never meant for you. You will stop chasing validation from people who cannot even see your worth. Instead, you will rise quietly, boldly, confident, step by step, day by day, becoming the woman you were always meant to be. And as you continue on this journey, you begin to realize that becoming a high-value woman is not about adding more to your life, but often about removing what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. It is about refining, purifying, and strengthening the core of your being. There is a process to this, and that process is not always comfortable. In fact, many times it feels like pressure, like stretching, like being pulled in directions you never expected. But pressure, when embraced correctly, produces strength. In Isaiah 48:10, it says, I have refined you, though not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. There is something powerful about understanding that challenges are not meant to destroy you, but to develop you. A high-value woman does not run from pressure. She learns how to grow through it. She does not complain about the fire. She allows it to shape her into something stronger, wiser, and more refined. There is a depth that begins to form within you when you go through seasons of testing. It gives you a kind of wisdom that cannot be taught in comfort. It builds resilience. It builds patience. It builds character. And character is one of the greatest assets a woman can possess, because beauty may capture attention, but character sustains respect. In 1 Peter 3:4, it says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth. Notice that it speaks of unfading beauty. Everything external fades with time, but what is built internally only grows stronger. A high-value W, Duhu. Oman invests more in her character than her appearance because she understands that what is within her is what will ultimately define her. And this is where many people misunderstand the concept of value. They think it is about being admired, being desired, being seen. But true value is about being grounded, being consistent, being trustworthy. It is about becoming a woman whose presence brings peace, whose words bring clarity, whose actions reflect integrity. A high-value woman does not change her standards based on her environment. She carries her standards with her, whether she is in a room full of people or standing alone. She remains the same. Same. That is integrity. Being consistent in who you are, regardless of who is watching. In Psalm 190, 105, it says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path." Guidance is essential. A high-value woman does not walk blindly through life. She seeks direction. She seeks wisdom. She seeks wisdom. She aligns her decisions with truth rather than impulse. Because impulse can lead you into places that look good in the moment, but bring regret in the long run. There is also a level of emotional maturity that defines a high-value woman. She does not allow her emotions to control her behavior. She acknowledges what she feels, but she does not let it dictate her decisions. She understands that feelings are real, but they are not always reliable. So she takes time to process, to reflect, to pray, to seek understanding before she reacts. In Proverbs 14:29, it says, "Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly." Patience is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes strength to pause when you want to react. It takes strength to remain calm when everything around you is chaotic. It takes strength to choose wisdom over impulse. A high-value woman is not easily provoked. She's not easily shaken. She has learned how to control her responses, and that gives her a level of power that many people do not have. Because when you control your reactions, you control your direction. The cons, when you control your reactions, you control your direction. There is also a spiritual discipline that is essential in this journey. You cannot become a high-value woman while neglecting your spiritual growth. Your spirit is the foundation of everything else. When your spirit is weak, everything else becomes unstable. But when your spirit is strong, you can withstand storms that would break others. In Matthew 6:33, it says, "Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Priority matters. A high-value woman understands that when she puts the right things first, everything else falls into place. She does not chase blessings. She aligns herself with the source of them. There is a quiet strength that comes from a life that is spiritually grounded. It gives you peace in uncertainty. It gives you clarity in confusion. It gives you strength when you feel weak. Confusion. It gives you strength when you feel weak. And it reminds you that you are never alone in your journey. But let us be honest. There will be moments when you feel alone. There will be moments when it seems like no one understands your path, your decisions, your standards. And in those moments, you will be tempted to compromise. You will be tempted to lower your standards just to feel accepted. But this is where your true strength is revealed. In Galatians 1:10, it says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? If I was still trying to please people, I would not be a servant." You cannot live a life of value if you're constantly seeking approval from others. Because people will change. Their opinions will change. Their expectations will change. But truth remains constant. A high-value woman is not controlled by the opinions of others. She listens, she learns, but she does not allow external voices to override internal conviction. She knows who she is, and that knowledge becomes her anchor. There is also a level of self-respect that cannot be ignored. A high-value woman respects herself deeply, and because she respects herself, she does not tolerate disrespect from others. She does not stay in environments that diminish her. So she does not entertain relationships that drain her. She understands that her time, her energy, and her presence are valuable, and she treats them as such. Valuable, and she treats them as such. In 1 Corinthians 15:33 it says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. The people you surround yourself with will either elevate you or pull you down. There is no neutral ground." A high-value woman is intentional about her circle. She chooses relationships that are aligned with growth, with purpose, with truth. And sometimes this means walking alone for a season. It means being willing to stand apart rather than blend in. But it means choosing purpose over popularity. And that is not easy. But it is necessary. Because greatness is never built in comfort zones. It is built in moments of decision, in moments of sacrifice, in moments where you choose what is right over what is easy. A high-value woman also understands the power of vision. She does not just live day by day without direction. She has a sense of where she is going. She has goals. She has purpose. She has purpose. She has a vision for her life that goes beyond temporary satisfaction. In Habakkuk 2:2 it says, "Write the vision and make it plain." Vision gives your life direction. It gives your actions meaning. It keeps you focused when distractions arise. Without vision, it is easy to drift. But with vision, it is easy to drift. But with vision, every step becomes intentional. And let me tell you something, your journey will not always make sense to others. People will question your decisions. They will misunderstand your standards. They will misunderstand your standard. They will understand. They'll not always see what you see, but that is okay, because your life is not meant to be understood by everyone. A high-value woman does not need validation from others to continue her journey. She moves with conviction. She moves with purpose. She moves with faith. There is also a level of humility that defines a high-value woman. She is confident, but she is not arrogant. She knows her worth, but she does not use it to look down on others. She remains teachable. She remains open to growth. She understands that no matter how far she has come, there is always more to learn. In Proverbs 11:2 it says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom." Humility keeps you grounded. It keeps you open. It allows you to grow without becoming rigid or self-centered. And as you continue to grow, you will begin to notice something. Your desires will change. The things that once attracted you will no longer appeal to you. The conversations you once entertained will no longer interest you. The environments you once felt comfortable in will begin to feel out of place. This is not loss. This is growth. It is a sign that you are evolving, that you are stepping into a higher level of awareness, a higher level of understanding, a higher level of understanding, a higher level of purpose. A high-value woman embraces this change. She does not try to hold on to who she used to be. She allows herself to grow into who she is becoming. And there is a certain peace that comes with this, a peace that comes with this. A peace that does not depend on circumstances. A peace that is rooted in knowing that you are walking in alignment with your purpose. In John 14:27 it says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." This peace is not something the world can give, and it is not something the world can take away. It is a peace that anchors you, that steadies you, that in you, that no matter what happens around you, there is something within you that remains unshaken. And as you continue to walk in this journey, you will begin to see the fruit of your growth. Not just in what you achieve, but in who you become, in the way you think, in the way you respond, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you carry yourself. You will begin to realize that becoming a high-value woman is not a destination. It is a daily commitment, a daily decision to grow, to learn, to align, to rise. And every single day, you are given the opportunity to choose. And every single day, you are given the opportunity to choose. And every single day, you are given the opportunity to choose who you will become. Not based on what happened yesterday, not based on what happened yesterday, not based on how you feel in the moment, but based on the truth you decide to stand on. Because life will always present you with options to shrink or to rise, to compromise or to stand firm, to settle or to grow. And a high-value woman is defined by her choices, especially the ones no one sees. There is a discipline in choosing growth when comfort is calling your name. There's a strength in choosing silence when your emotions want to speak too quickly. There is a wisdom in choosing patience when everything in you wants immediate results. When everything in you wants immediate results. These are not small decisions. These are defining moments that shape the kind of woman you become over time. In Lamentations 3:25 it says, "The Lord is good to those whose hope is in Him, to the one who seeks Him." Seeking is an active process. It requires intention. It requires consistency. A high-value woman does not drift into purpose. She seeks it. She pursues it. She aligns her life with it daily, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels slow, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because growth is often quiet. It happens beneath the surface. Just like roots grow deep before a tree rises tall. There are seasons in your life where everything's super. There are seasons in your life where everything's super. I'm still on the outside, but something powerful is happening within you. And if you are not careful, you will misinterpret these seasons as stagnation, when in reality, they are preparation. When in reality, they are preparation. In James 5:7, it says, "See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains." There is a waiting that produces strength. There is a waiting that builds endurance. There is a waiting that builds endurance. A high-value woman understands that not everything happens instantly. She respects the process. She trusts that what is being built in her is worth the time it takes. And in that waiting, she continues to work on herself. She's shaping you. She does not become idle. She does not become careless. She becomes more intentional. She refines her habits. She sharpens her mindset. She strengthens her discipline. Because she knows that when the opportunity comes, she must be ready. Preparation is a sign of value. A high-value woman prepares for the life she desires. She does not wait until everything is perfect to begin. She starts where she is. She uses what she has. She uses what she has. She does what she can. And she trusts that as she moves forward, clarity will come. In Proverbs 21:5, it says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." Diligence is not about rushing. It is about consistency. It is about showing up every day, even when it is not exciting, even when it is not recognized, even when it feels like no one is noticing. Because not everything you do will be celebrated by others. There will be work you do in silence that no one applauds. There will be sacrifices you make that no one understands, But a high-value woman is not driven by applause. She is driven by purpose. She knows that her life is not about performing for people, but about fulfilling for people, but about fulfilling what she has been called to do. And that requires a level of focus that cannot be easily distracted. To see, distractions are one of the greatest threats to your growth. They come in many forms. People, habits, thoughts, opportunities that look good, but are not aligned. And if you are not careful, you will spend your time chasing things that pull you away from your purpose. In 1 Corinthians 7:35, it speaks about living in a right way in undivided devotion. Undivided focus is rare in a world full of noise. But a high-value woman learns how to protect her focus. She learns how to say no to things that do not serve her growth. She learns how to prioritize what truly matters. And sometimes saying no will feel uncomfortable. It will feel like you are missing out. It will feel like you are being left behind. It will feel like you are being left behind. But you must understand, every time you say no to something that is not aligned, you are saying yes to something greater. There is also a level of responsibility that comes with becoming a high-value woman. You can no longer blame others for where you are. You can no longer make excuses for what you are not doing. You must take ownership of your life. In Galatians 6:5 it says, each one should carry their own load. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a privilege. It means you have the power to change your situation. It means you are not stuck. It means your future is not determined by your past, but by the decisions you make moving forward. A high-value woman does not wait for someone to come and fix her life. She takes responsibility for her growth, her healing, her mindset, her actions. She understands that while she may not control everything that happens to her, she always has control over how she responds. And let us talk about healing for a moment, because you cannot become a high-value woman while ignoring the areas of your life that are broken. Pain that is not addressed will eventually influence your decisions. Wounds that are not healed will show up in your reeler. Tensions in your thoughts, in your behavior. In Psalm 147:3 it says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Healing is a process. It requires honesty. It requires vulnerability. It requires you to face things you may have tried to avoid. But a high-value woman does not run from healing. She embraces it. She allows herself to feel. She allows herself to process. She allows herself to grow through what she has been through. And in doing so, she becomes stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, because there is a depth that comes from healing. It changes the way you see others. It changes the way you respond to situations. It gives you a level of understanding that you did not have before. And as you heal, you begin to release what you were never meant to carry. You release bitterness. You release resentment. You release the need to hold on to past hurts. Not because what happened was acceptable, but because you refuse to let it control your future. In Ephesians 4:3:2 it says, get rid of all bitterness, be kind and compassionate, forgiving each other. Forgiveness is not about excusing others. It is about freeing yourself. A high-value woman understands that holding on to bitterness will only weigh her down. So she chooses to let go, and that takes strength, real strength, because it is easy to hold on to pain. It is easy to replay what happened. It is easy to replay what happened. It is easy to build walls, but it takes courage to release it. It takes courage to trust again. It takes courage to remain open while still being wise. A high-value woman balances wisdom and openness. She does not become naive, but she does not become hardened either. She learns, she grows. She moves forward with discernment. In Proverbs 3:21 it says, preserve sound judgment and discretion. Discernment is essential. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Not every opportunity is meant to stay. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken. Not every voice is meant to be followed. A high-value woman asks questions. She observes. She listens. She does not rush into decisions without understanding. She takes her time because she knows that rushing often leads to regret. And in all of this, there is a building of confidence, not the kind of confidence that is loud and attention-seeking, but the kind that is quiet and steady, the kind that does not need to prove itself, the kind that remains even when circumstances change. Jage. In Hebrews 10:35 it says, do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. Confidence is built through consistency. It is built through keeping promises to yourself. It is built through doing what you said you would do, even when it is difficult. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you build confidence. Every time you choose truth over lies, you build confidence. Every time you choose growth over stagnation, you build confidence. And over time, that confidence becomes unshakable. It becomes part of who you are. A high-value woman also understands the importance of gratitude. She does not focus only on what she lacks. She appreciates what she has. She recognizes the progress she has made. She acknowledges the blessings in her life, even in the midst of challenges. She acknowledges the blessings in her life, even in the midst of challenges. In 1 Thessalonians 5:18, it says, give thanks in all circumstances, Gratitude shifts your perspective. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that even in difficult seasons, there is still something to be thankful for. And when you live with gratitude, you begin to experience life differently. You become more present, more aware, more at peace. There is also a level of faith that cannot be ignored, because there will be moments when logic cannot be explained. What you are going through, there will be moments when you do not have all the answers. And in those moments, faith becomes your anchor. In 2 Corinthians 5:7, it says, "For we live by faith, not by sight. A high-value woman does not rely solely on what she can see. She trusts in what she knows to be true. Even when it is not visible yet, she continues to move forward. Even when the path is unclear, she continues to move forward. Even when the path is unclear, she continues to believe, even when circumstances seem uncertain. She continues to stand, even when everything around her is shifting. And that kind of faith produces strength. It produces resilience. It produces resilience. It produces a confidence that is not dependent on external conditions. As you continue to grow in all these areas, something begins to change within you. You begin to carry yourself differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to respond differently. You no longer react to everything. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You no longer seek validation in places that cannot give it to you. Instead, you become grounded, you become focused, you become aligned. And in that alignment, you begin to walk in a level of authority, not over others, but over your own life. Your decisions become clearer, your standards become stronger, your boundaries become firmer. You begin to realize that you are not here to live a life of confusion, insecurity, and doubt. So, you are not here to live a life of confusion, insecurity, and doubt. You are here to live a life of purpose, clarity, and intention. And every step you take in that direction brings you closer to the woman you are created to be. And as you move closer to that woman, you will begin to notice that your tolerance for what once distracted you begins to disappear. The things that once entertained you will no longer satisfy you. The things that once entertained you will no longer satisfy you. The places that once felt comfortable will begin to feel limiting. This is not because something is wrong with you, but because something is growing with you. But because something is growing within you. Growth will always challenge comfort. It will always require you to step beyond what is familiar. And a high vow. Equally, woman understands that comfort can sometimes become a cage if you are not careful. Because what feels safe is not always what is meant for you. In Isaiah 43:19, it says, "See, I am doing a new thing." It says, "See, I am doing a new thing." Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Do you not perceive it? There are new dimensions of your life that are waiting for you, but you cannot step into them while holding on to old patterns, old thinking, and old limitations. You must be willing to release what no longer serves your purpose. And sometimes the hardest thing to release is not people, but versions of yourself. The version of you that settled, the version of you that doubted, the version of you that accepted less than you deserved. Letting go of who you used to be requires courage, because it means stepping into the unknown. But that is where transformation happens. In 2 Corinthians 4:16, it says, "Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day." Renewal is a daily process. It is not something that happens once and is complete. It is something that requires constant attention, constant alignment, constant awareness. A high-value woman does not neglect her inner life. She takes time to reflect. She takes time to grow. She takes time to realign herself when she feels off course. She understands that if she loses herself internally, it will eventually affect everything externally. There is also a strength in solitude that many people overlook. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a space where you can hear clearly, think deeply, and grow intentionally. A high-value woman is not afraid to be alone because she understands that being alone is different from being empty. In Psalm 46:10 it says, "Be still and know." Stillness is powerful. It allows you to reconnect with truth. It allows you to quiet the noise of the world and hear what truly matters. It allows you to evaluate your life without. It allows you to evaluate your life without distraction. And in that stillness, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You begin to recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns, and awareness is the first step to growth, because you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. A high-value woman is honest with herself. She does not hide from her flaws. She does not pretend to be perfect. She faces her reality with courage, knowing that truth is what sets her free. In John 8:32 it says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Freedom comes from truth, not denial. And the more honest you are with yourself, the more power you have to grow. There is also a level of intentionality in how a high-value woman lives her life. She does not move aimlessly. She does not make decisions carelessly. She understands that every choice has consequences, and she chooses wisely. In Deuteronomy 30:19 it says, "I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." Life is a series of choices, and the quality of your life is directly connected to the quality of your decisions. A high-value woman chooses life in her habits. She chooses life in her habits. She chooses life in her relationships. She chooses life in her relationships. She chooses life in her thoughts. Even when it is difficult, even when it requires sacrifice, she chooses what will build her rather than what will break her. There is also a sense of purpose that drives her. She does not just exist, she lives with intention. She understands that her life has meaning, that her presence has impact, that her actions matter. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Hope is a powerful force. It keeps you moving forward even when things are uncertain. It gives you the strength to continue even when you feel tired. A high-value woman holds on to hope. She does not allow temporary situations to define her future. She understands that what she is going through is not the end of her story, and because of that, she does not give up easily. She persists, sucks, she endures, she continues to move forward, step by step, even when progress feels slow. In Romans 5:3-4 it says, "Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." There is a process in growth. It is not always easy, but it is always meaningful. And as you continue in this process, you will begin to see a shift, not only in yourself, but in how others respond to you. People will begin to recognize something different about you. Not because you are trying to impress them, but because your transformation becomes evident. There is a presence that comes with being aligned. It is not something you can fake. It is something that is developed over time through consistency, discipline, and growth. A high-value woman does not chase attention. She attracts respect. She does not demand recognition. She earns it through her character. She does not force connections. She builds meaningful relationships based on truth and alignment. And this is important because not all attention is good attention. Not all connections are beneficial. A high-value woman discerns a difference. In Proverbs 13:20 it says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Your environment matters. The people you spend time with influence your thinking, your behavior, your direction. A high-value woman is intentional about her environment. She places herself in spaces that encourage growth, that challenge her to become better, that align with her values. And when she finds herself in environments that do not serve her, she has the courage to walk away, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. There is also a level of self-control that cannot be ignored. Self-control that cannot be ignored. Self-control. Role is one of the greatest indicators of strength. It is the ability to govern yourself, to make decisions based on principle rather than impulse. In Galatians 5:2-3, it speaks of the fruit of the Spirit, including self-control. This is not just a suggestion, it is a necessity. Because without self-control, it is easy to fall into patterns that limit your growth. A high-value woman exercises self-control in her words, in her actions, in her habits. She does not allow temporary desires to override long-term purpose. She does not allow temporary desires to override long-term purpose. She understands that discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. And let us not ignore the importance of consistency. Consistency is what turns potential into reality. It is not what you do occasionally that defines you. It is what you do consistently. In Luke 16:10, it says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Faithfulness in small things leads to greater responsibility." A high-value woman does not overlook the small things. In law, overlook the small things. She gives her best in everything she does, no matter how insignificant it may seem, because she understands that every small step contributes to a greater outcome. There is also a sense of responsibility in how she carries herself. She understands that she represents more than just herself. Her actions, her words, her choices, they all reflect her values. She is mindful of how she treats others. She is mindful of how she speaks. She is mindful of how she presents herself. Not out of fear of judgment, but out of respect for who she is. In Colossians 3:23, it says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. Excellence is a characteristic of a high-value woman." She does not do things halfway. She gives her best effort because she understands that how she does one thing reflects how she does everything. And as you continue to grow in excellence, discipline, and purpose, you will begin to experience a deeper level of fulfillment. Not the kind that comes from temporary success, but the kind that comes from knowing that you are living in alignment with who you were created to be. This fulfillment is not dependent on external achievements. It is rooted in internal alignment. It is the peace that comes from knowing that you are walking in truth, that you are growing, that you are becoming. And in this journey, you will continue to face challenges. You will continue to encounter obstacles, but you will also continue to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Because every challenge you face is an opportunity to rise. Every obstacle is an opportunity to develop strength. Every difficulty is an opportunity to deepen your faith. In Joshua 1:9, it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. A high-value woman is courageous. She does not allow fear to stop her. She acknowledges it, but she does not submit to it. She moves forward with confidence, knowing that growth requires stepping into the unknown. And as she continues to move forward, she becomes a reflection of strength, of wisdom, of purpose, not because she has everything figured out, but because she is committed to the process of becoming. She understands that this journey is not about arriving at perfection, but about continually growing, continually learning, continually learning. And with every step she takes, she becomes more grounded in her identity, more confident in her identity, more confident in her purpose, more intentional in her actions. She begins to walk with a sense of clarity that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. She begins to carry a presence that reflects depth, strength, and peace. And in that presence there is influence. Not forced, not demanded, but natural. Because when you become a line within yourself, it begins to impact everything around you. And so she continues day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment, becoming more of who she was always meant to be, refusing to settle, refusing to shrink, refusing to compromise, becoming more of who she was always meant to be, refusing to shrink, refusing to compromise, and instead rising steadily, intentionally, and faithfully into a life that reflects true value. And as she continues in this journey, something even deeper begins to take place within her. She starts to develop a sense of discernment that cannot be easily shaken. Discernment is not just about knowing what is right or wrong on the surface. It is about sensing what aligns and what does not, even when everything appears acceptable outwardly. It is the ability to perceive beyond appearances and recognize truth beneath layers. In Hebrews 5:14, it says, "But solid food is for the mature who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil." Discernment is developed through maturity, and maturity is built through experience, through reflection, and through consistent alignment with truth. A high-value woman does not rush decisions simply because something looks appealing. She pauses. She evaluates. She listens carefully not only to words but to patterns, to behavior, to consistency, because she understands that not everything that glitters carries substance. Not every opportunity carries purpose. Not every connection carries sincerity. And this awareness protects her. It guards her from unnecessary pain, from wasted time, from misaligned paths. There is also a deep sense of emotional stability that begins to anchor her life. She is no longer easily overwhelmed by circumstances. She does not rise and fall based on external situations. Instead, she develops an inner steadiness, a calmness that remains even when life becomes unpredictable. In Isaiah 26:3 it says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast." A steadfast mind is a focused mind. It is not easily distracted by fear, by doubt, by anxiety. A high-value woman trains her mind to remain steady. When challenges come, she does not panic. She reflects. She breathes. She responds with clarity rather than chaos. And this stability becomes one of her greatest strengths. Because in a world where many are driven by emotion and impulse, she becomes a source of calm, a source of clarity, a source of wisdom. There is also a transformation in how she views time. She no longer sees time as something to be spent carelessly. She recognizes its value. She understands that every moment carries potential, and she chooses to use it wisely. In Psalm 90:12 it says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Wisdom is closely connected to how you manage your time. A high-value woman does not waste her time on things that do not contribute to her growth. She is intentional with her days. She plans. She prioritizes. She creates space for what truly matters. And yet she also understands the importance of rest. She does not burn herself out trying to prove her worth. She knows that rest is not laziness. It is restoration. It is necessary for clarity, for strength, for balance. In Mark 6:31 it says, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." There is a rhythm to life that must be respected. Work and rest, effort and reflection, movement and stillness. A high-value woman learns to balance these, understanding that both are essential for sustainable growth. There is also a shift in how she handles success. When she begins to achieve, when doors begin to open, when recognition begins to come, she remains grounded. She does not allow success to change her character. She does not allow success to change her character. She does not become prideful or self-centered. In Proverbs 27:2 it says, "Let someone else praise you and not your own mouth." Humility remains at the core of who she is. And not your own mouth. Humility remains at the core of who she is. She understands that success is not just about reaching a higher level, it is about maintaining integrity at that level. And in the same way, she also knows how to handle failure. Because failure will come. There will be moments when things do not go as planned. There will be moments when she falls short, but she does not allow failure to define her. In Micah 7:8, it says, "Though I have fallen, I will rise." This is the mindset of resilience. A high-value woman does not stay down. She learns, she adjusts. She grows, she rises again, stronger than before. There is also a deep sense of purpose in how she serves others. She does not live only for herself. She does not live only for herself. She understands that her life is meant to impact others in a positive way. She uses her gifts, her knowledge, her experiences to uplift, to guide, to encourage. In Galatians 5:13 it says, "Serve one another humbly in love." Service is not a weakness, it is a strength. It reflects a heart that is secure, a heart that is not driven by selfish ambition, but by genuine care. A high-value woman does not serve to be seen. She serves because it aligns with who she is. And in doing so, she creates a ripple effect that reaches far beyond what she can see. There is also a level of courage in how she expresses herself. She does not silence her voice out of fear. She speaks truth with wisdom. She communicates clearly. She stands firm in her beliefs without being aggressive or defensive. In Proverbs 31:26, it says, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. Her words carry weight because they are rooted in truth. She does not speak carelessly. She does not speak to impress. She speaks to build, to guide, to bring clarity. And this makes her presence impactful because people are not just listening to her words, they are feeling the authenticity behind them. There is also a sense of alignment between what she says and what she does. She does not live in contradiction. Her actions reflect her values. Her lifestyle reflects her beliefs. Her lifestyle reflects her beliefs. In James 1:22, it says, do not merely listen to the word. Do what it says. A high-value woman lives what she believes. She does not just talk about growth. She practices it. She does not just speak about discipline. She embodies it. And this consistency builds trust. It builds credibility. It builds a reputation that is not based on image but on truth. There is also a refinement in how she handles relationships. She no longer seeks validation through others. She no longer depends on people to complete her. Instead, she approaches relationships from a place of wholeness. She approaches relationships from a place of wholeness. She gives, but she does not lose herself. She loves, but she maintains her identity. She connects, but she does not compromise her values. In Proverbs 4:2-5, 2:6 it says, let your eyes look straight ahead. Give careful thought to the paths for your feet. She is intentional in her relationships. She does not enter blindly. She observes, she discerns, she evaluates. She discerns, she evaluates. And when something is not right, she does not ignore it. She addresses it with wisdom. And if necessary, she walks away with dignity because she understands that not every connection is meant to continue. People are part of a season, not a lifetime. And that is okay. There's also a deep sense of self-awareness that continues to grow within her. She understands her triggers. She understands her strengths. She understands her areas of growth. And because of this awareness, she is able to navigate life with greater clarity. She does not react blindly. She does not react blindly. She responds intentionally. In Proverbs 19:8, it says, the one who gets wisdom loves life. Wisdom is not just knowledge. It is the ability to apply knowledge effectively. A high-value woman seeks wisdom daily. She learns, she reflects, she grows. And this growth is not limited to one area of her life. It touches everything. Her mindset, her habits, her relationships, her purpose. There is also a level of perseverance that defines her journey. She does not give up when things become difficult. She does not quit when progress is slow. She continues. She continues. In Hebrews 12:11 it says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest. She understands the process is not always comfortable, but it is necessary. And because of that understanding, she remains committed, even when it is hard, even when it is inconvenient, even when it requires sacrifice. Because she knows that what she is building is worth it. And as she continues to build, to grow, to refine, to align, she begins to embody a level of value that is undeniable. Not because she is trying to prove anything, but because her life reflects it naturally. She becomes a woman of depth, a woman of strength, a woman of strength, a woman of wisdom, a woman of purpose. And her journey continues, not with pressure, not with fear, but with clarity, with confidence, with faith, as she keeps moving forward, step by step, rising into greater levels of understanding, greater levels of discipline, greater levels of purpose, confidence, becoming more refined, more aligned, more grounded in truth, and more committed than ever to living a life that reflects the fullness of who she was created to be. And so you must understand this with clarity and conviction. Becoming a high-value woman is not a moment. It is a lifelong journey. It is not a title you claim. It is a life you build. It is seen in your daily decisions, in your quiet discipline, in your unwavering standards, and in your commitment to truth, even when no one is watching. You are not called to live a life of confusion, insecurity, and constant seeking. You are called to live with clarity, with purpose, and with deep-rooted confidence that comes from knowing who you are. So, you were to bring your but, and when you truly understand your value, you will no longer beg for attention, chase validation, or settle for less than what aligns with your purpose. In Proverbs 1:30 it says, "Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." This is the foundation. This is the difference. This is the difference. External things will fade, opinions will change, seasons will shift, but a life grounded in truth will stand firm through it all. So rise each day with intention. Guard your mind, protect your heart, walk in discipline. Speak with wisdom. Speak with wisdom. Move with purpose. And above all, remain anchored in the truth that your value was never meant to be defined by the world, but revealed through the life you choose to live. You are not becoming something new. You are uncovering who you were always created to be. And when you walk in that understanding with courage, with faith, and with unwavering commitment, your life will know. Only transform. You will become a light that quietly, powerfully, and undeniably reflects true value.